and focus demands elimination. You cannot pursue greatness while entertaining everything. Ask yourself this uncomfortable question: what am I tolerating that is slowing me down? Perhaps it is late nights disguised as relaxation. Perhaps it is gossip disguised as connection. Perhaps it is self-doubt disguised as humility. There are habits you have outgrown but refuse to release. There are influences you know weaken you, yet you keep them for familiarity. Familiarity is seductive. It feels safe. But safety is not victory. The first thing you must cut is scattered attention. Multitasking feels efficient, but it divides power. Concentrated effort, directed at one definite objective, produces momentum. The second thing you must cut is indecision. Indecision is disguised as careful thinking, but prolonged hesitation drains confidence. Decide, adjust if necessary, but stop living in the gray space of uncertainty. The third thing you must cut is toxic association. Spend enough time around complaint and it becomes normal. Spend enough time around mediocrity and ambition feels extreme. You do not rise above your environment accidentally. You either shape it intentionally or it shapes you unconsciously. Elimination sometimes means distancing from those who are comfortable remaining stagnant. The fourth thing you must cut is unnecessary consumption. Information is abundant, but wisdom requires digestion. Endless reading without execution creates illusion of progress. The fifth thing you must cut is self-sabotaging language. Listen to how you speak about yourself. I'm not ready. I'm not that type. These phrases condition your identity. Identity governs behavior. The sixth thing you must cut is comfort disguised as recovery. Rest is necessary, but endless comfort erodes urgency. The line between restoration and avoidance is thin. The seventh thing you must cut is fear of criticism. Fear of what others might think will keep you small. The moment you begin chasing approval, you dilute purpose. Elimination is uncomfortable because it demands responsibility. It removes excuses. It exposes where you have been undisciplined. It requires you to choose growth over familiarity. Have you ever noticed how clarity increases after you simplify? How lighter you feel after removing clutter from your physical space? The same principle applies to your mental environment. When you eliminate distraction, your mind sharpens. Ideas connect faster. Decisions strengthen. Momentum builds. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. Most men try to climb higher while carrying unnecessary weight. They wonder why progress feels slow. They blame circumstance. Rarely do they examine what they refuse to release. You cannot entertain everything and expect to excel at one thing. Concentration is the secret weapon of high achievers, and concentration is impossible without sacrifice. Every yes to distraction is a no to your definite purpose. Every tolerated habit steals energy that could have been invested in growth. Imagine what would happen if you cut one major distraction this week, one habit that weakens focus, one influence that drains enthusiasm. How much mental space would you recover? Winning is not complicated. It is disciplined. It is intentional subtraction followed by concentrated effort. The world will not simplify itself for you. It will offer endless options, endless diversions. If you do not choose what to eliminate, you will be consumed by what you never intended to entertain. Look honestly at your life. Where are you divided? Where are you tolerating what should have been cut months ago? The courage to eliminate is the courage to win, because what you remove determines what remains, and what remains determines your future. Success does not begin with addition. It begins with subtraction. Before a man can rise, he must release what weakens him. The first and most destructive habit he must cut is scattered attention. The mind cannot gather power while divided among 100 trivial pursuits. Divided attention feels harmless, a brief diversion here, an unnecessary conversation there, idle reading, idle complaint, idle curiosity. None of these alone appears ruinous. Yet combined, they fracture concentration and steal the hours required for mastery. The law is simple and unchanging. Concentrated thought multiplies force. When the mind is fixed upon one commanding objective, it gathers intensity. Like sunlight drawn through a lens, it becomes capable of ignition. Without concentration, ambition remains vague and powerless. Thomas Edison did not produce invention by entertaining every passing interest. His laboratory was a place of fixed attention. One problem held his mind until it yielded. That discipline shortened the distance between attempt and success. Henry Ford fixed his thought upon producing an automobile within reach of the average man. He did not scatter his effort across countless unrelated ventures. His concentration attracted cooperation and sustained persistence. Many men mistake motion for advancement. They move constantly, yet accomplish little. They answer every call upon their time. They attend to every interruption. At day's end, they feel fatigue, but not progress. 10 years may vanish in such motion. 20 years may fade in alternating enthusiasm and distraction. 30 years may pass before a man realizes that his greatest loss was not opportunity, but divided thought. Scattered attention weakens transmission. When the mind jumps from one concern to another, its signal grows faint. Energy disperses. Results reflect that dispersion. Controlled attention is therefore essential. Choose one definite objective. Assign hours to it deliberately. Guard those hours against intrusion. Refuse obligations that do not serve your chief aim. The world will not simplify itself for you. It offers endless diversions. It profits from your distraction. If you do not choose what deserves your thought, others will choose for you. Observe a man of concentrated purpose. His speech is deliberate, his movements efficient, his presence calm. Others sense direction within him. They respond with respect. Concentration breeds authority. Authority breeds influence. Influence breeds opportunity. The chain begins with elimination of distraction. Saying no requires courage. Each refusal to indulge triviality strengthens your purpose. Each acceptance of distraction weakens it. Discipline grows through practice. Ask yourself daily, does this activity advance my aim or divide it? If it divides, cut it without regret. Affirm each morning, I concentrate my attention upon my definite purpose. I reject distractions. My focused thought produces power. Repetition of this affirmation trains the mind. The brain becomes accustomed to unified direction. Over time, distraction loses appeal. Consider how different your life would appear if for the next decade you eliminated one major distraction each year. 10 years reclaimed, 20 if you persist, 30 if you sustain discipline without exception. Winning requires intensity. Intensity demands focus. Focus demands sacrifice. You cannot entertain everything and excel at one thing. Most men attempt to climb while carrying unnecessary weight. They wonder why progress is slow. They rarely examine what they refuse to release. When attention is unified, ideas connect swiftly. Decisions sharpen. Effort compounds. Momentum replaces confusion. The courage to eliminate is the courage to advance. You may lose trivial pleasure, but you gain power. You may disappoint some, but you strengthen your aim. Say again, my attention is unified, my energy is directed, my purpose commands my time. In cutting scattered attention, you perform the first act of victory. You reclaim your hours. You gather your force. You prepare your mind for decisive action. Without this discipline, no other principle can sustain achievement. With it, progress accelerates. Thus, the first thing you must cut to win is scattered attention. Remove it, and clarity remains. Where clarity remains, power grows. And where power grows, victory becomes possible. After cutting scattered attention, the next enemy to remove is indecision. If divided focus weakens power, hesitation dissolves it entirely. A man may possess talent, knowledge, and opportunity, yet remain stagnant because he refuses to conclude. Indecision disguises itself as careful thought. It whispers that more time is required, that additional information must be gathered, that perfect certainty must be reached. Meanwhile, opportunity waits for no man. Delay is often more costly than error. There is a profound difference between thoughtful consideration and endless hesitation. Thoughtful consideration leads to conclusion. Endless hesitation circles without landing. One clarifies, the other confuses. Each time you delay a necessary decision, you weaken confidence in your own judgment. The brain begins to associate choice with discomfort. Over time, hesitation becomes habit. Habit becomes identity. The dividing line between the drifter and the leader is decision. The drifter waits for conditions to align perfectly. The leader aligns himself with conditions and proceeds. Consider the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence. Their decision was not safe. It was not without risk. Yet once made, it was final. They did not revisit it in secret doubt. Their conclusion shaped history. Henry Ford did not ask his engineers whether a V8 engine was possible in order to retreat at the first objection. He decided it would be done. That decision, fixed firmly, compelled persistence until achievement followed. Indecision consumes years quietly. 10 years may pass while a man debates whether to begin. 20 while he evaluates every possible outcome. 30 while he stands at the threshold of ambition without crossing it. Winning demands movement. Movement requires conclusion. You cannot advance while lingering at every crossroad. Others instinctively trust the decisive individual. They sense certainty. They respond to clarity. When you conclude firmly, your speech gains strength. Your posture steadies. Your actions carry weight. Indecision, by contrast, reveals doubt. Even when words appear confident, tone betrays uncertainty. Associates hesitate to commit themselves to a wavering mind. The discipline required is simple in statement, yet difficult in execution. Decide promptly and stand by your decision. If adjustment becomes necessary, adjust without self-reproach, but do not linger. Set a time limit for important choices. Gather essential facts, then conclude. Refuse to rehearse the alternative endlessly once you have chosen. Say to yourself each day, I decide swiftly. I trust my judgment. My decisions grow stronger through use. This affirmation must be practiced. Begin with small matters. Conclude quickly. Train the mind to associate choice with authority rather than fear. Confidence grows through decision. The brain, once accustomed to firm choice, strengthens its signal. Indecision weakens transmission. Decision sharpens it. Examine your own history. Where have you hesitated unnecessarily? Where have you allowed fear of error to delay action? Each such instance represents time surrendered. Imagine the years regained if you had acted sooner. 10 years reclaimed through bold beginning. 20 through unwavering commitment. 30 through refusal to retreat at the first obstacle. Decision does not guarantee absence of error. It guarantees progress. Error may be corrected. Delay rarely can. When you decide, you instruct your subconscious mind to align resources toward execution. When you hesitate, you instruct it to remain uncertain. The habit of decision also eliminates inner conflict. Doubt diminishes when choice is firm. Energy once consumed by debate becomes available for action. Winning is not achieved by the man who knows the most possibilities, but by the man who chooses one and commits fully. Ask yourself, what decision have I postponed that requires immediate conclusion? What hesitation has cost me momentum? Resolve now to end lingering uncertainty. Conclude. Act. Adjust if required, but never return to paralysis. Affirm daily. My decisions are firm. My commitment is steady. I advance without hesitation. In cutting indecision, you remove a heavy burden. You lighten the climb. You accelerate progress. The world does not reward perpetual contemplation. It rewards directed action. Thus, the second thing you must cut to win is indecision. Remove it and clarity remains. Where clarity remains, authority grows. And where authority grows, victory draws near. After a man has cut scattered attention and indecision, he must examine something far less obvious yet equally powerful: his associations. No individual rises permanently above the prevailing tone of those with whom he spends his most intimate hours. Association is atmosphere. Atmosphere shapes expectation. Spend sufficient time among those who rehearse failure, and failure begins to sound reasonable. Remain in the company of those who complain habitually, and complaint begins to feel justified. The repetition of mediocrity dulls ambition quietly. Mediocrity is seductive because it is comfortable. It asks little. It forgives delay. It normalizes stagnation. A man may begin with fire in his heart. Yet, after prolonged exposure to lukewarm conversation, that fire dims. Repeated complaint becomes accepted truth. When scarcity is discussed daily, scarcity appears inevitable. When limitation is rehearsed frequently, limitation feels practical. The mind adapts to its climate. Loyalty must not be confused with self-betrayal. You may value friendship without adopting discouragement. You may respect another's choice to remain stationary without surrendering your own aspiration. Andrew Carnegie did not gather around him men who magnified impossibility. He selected men who believed in expansion. His mastermind alliances were constructed intentionally, not casually. Harmony of ambition strengthened enterprise. Henry Ford did not surround himself with timid spirits. He required cooperation from those who shared his determination. Had he accepted the prevailing doubt of lesser minds, his enterprise would have faltered. Association influences not only thought, but courage. When surrounded by initiative, boldness feels natural. When surrounded by caution disguised as prudence, boldness feels reckless. 10 years may be lost in company that tolerates smallness, 20 in circles that discourage risk, 30 in environments that reward conformity over conviction. Examine your immediate circle honestly. What is the dominant tone of conversation? Is it constructive? Is it hopeful? Is it ambitious? Or is it centered upon complaint, gossip, and criticism? The disciplined individual chooses association deliberately. He seeks those who speak of plans rather than grievances. He values minds that stimulate imagination rather than stifle it. This does not require abandonment of all who think differently. It requires selection of those whose influence penetrates deeply. You must guard proximity carefully. Others will notice when you alter your associations. Your tone changes, your outlook sharpens, your ambition intensifies. Some may interpret this as pride. In truth, it is protection. Association is contagious. Confidence spreads. So does doubt. You are not immune to repetition. No man is. Within a constructive mastermind alliance, ideas multiply. Courage strengthens. Each member reinforces the belief of the other. Such association accelerates achievement. Affirm daily. I associate with those who strengthen my purpose. My companions elevate my ambition. I guard my environment. Through repetition of this discipline, you create climate conducive to victory. Climate determines growth. Growth determines result. Consider the years reclaimed by leaving negative atmosphere. 10 saved through immediate distancing. 20 through sustained constructive companionship. 30 through lifelong selection of elevated minds. Winning requires more than personal resolve. It requires environment that supports resolve. Without that environment, even strong ambition may erode. When you reshape your associations, you reshape expectation. When expectation rises, action strengthens. When action strengthens, results follow. Thus, the third thing you must cut to win is weak association. Remove it, and strength remains. Where strength remains, courage grows. And where courage grows, greatness becomes attainable. After attention, decision, and association have been disciplined, there remains another enemy that operates quietly within a man's own mouth. Many men defeat themselves not by action, but by speech. Words repeated form belief. Belief forms identity. Identity directs behavior. Listen closely to the way men speak of themselves. I am not ready. I am not that type. I have always struggled. These statements appear harmless, yet repeated often enough, they become instruction to the subconscious mind. The brain accepts repetition as command. There's a difference between humility and self-diminishment. True humility recognizes room for growth. Self-diminishment denies capacity before effort is applied. One invites progress, the other prevents it. Each careless declaration weakens transmission. If you speak as though you are incapable, you begin to act in harmony with that belief. Others respond accordingly. They treat you as you describe yourself. Guard your language with vigilance. Replace weakening declarations immediately. When you hear yourself say, I cannot, correct it with, I am learning. When you are tempted to say, I am not prepared, say instead, I will prepare. Speech is rehearsal. What you rehearse becomes familiar. What becomes familiar feels true. Therefore, rehearse strength. The second danger in this category is excessive consumption of information without execution. Many men believe they are progressing because they read endlessly, attend lectures, and collect knowledge. Yet knowledge without application produces illusion rather than result. Information is abundant. Wisdom is rare. Wisdom arises when knowledge is digested and applied. Endless study without action creates a comfortable hiding place for hesitation. Thomas Edison did not wait until he felt perfectly informed before attempting invention. He experimented, he tested, he acted. Knowledge became power through execution. Edwin C. Barnes did not declare himself unprepared to work with Edison. He stepped into opportunity boldly, though circumstances were humble. Action transformed intention into position. Excess consumption divides attention and delays decision. It offers the comfort of learning without the discomfort of doing. Years may pass under the illusion of preparation. 10 years may be lost to careless speech that reinforces weakness. 20 years to studying without acting. 30 years to rehearsing limitation until it feels permanent. Others respond to disciplined speech. When you speak with confidence, they perceive authority. When you describe yourself as capable, they treat you as such. When you diminish yourself, they accept your estimate. Speech influences posture, tone, and demeanor. It shapes the signal you transmit. If your language reflects doubt, your body follows. If your language reflects strength, your conduct aligns. Ask yourself, what phrases do I repeat daily? Do they strengthen or weaken my purpose? What knowledge have I consumed without applying? Eliminate self-sabotaging language. Limit consumption to what you can implement immediately. Replace passive intake with active execution. Affirm daily. My words strengthen my identity. I speak in harmony with my purpose. I apply what I learn without delay. Repetition of this affirmation trains the mind. The subconscious begins to accept strength as normal. Identity shifts gradually. Winning requires not only cutting external distraction, but internal contradiction. Your speech must align with your ambition. Your study must align with your action. The world offers endless information. It rewards those who execute. The difference lies in application. Thus, the fourth thing you must cut to win is self-sabotaging speech and unnecessary consumption. Remove them, and clarity remains. Where clarity remains, confidence grows. And where confidence grows, action follows. In guarding your language and limiting idle intake, you reclaim time, strengthen identity, and accelerate progress. What you say about yourself becomes the frame through which you see your future. Guard it carefully, for in your own words lie either chains or wings. There remains one final weight that must be cut if a man intends to win. It is heavier than distraction, more paralyzing than indecision, and more deceptive than weak association. It is the twin burden of comfort and fear of criticism. Together, they hold more ambition in chains than open opposition ever could. Comfort is not the same as restoration. Restoration renews strength so that greater effort may follow. Comfort, when prolonged, becomes indulgence. It lulls urgency. It dulls hunger. It whispers that tomorrow will be sufficient. The line between restoration and avoidance is thin. A man convinces himself that he deserves ease after minor effort. Days stretch into weeks. Momentum fades quietly. Ambition softens. Comfort becomes an invisible chain because it feels harmless. It does not appear destructive. It appears pleasant. Yet growth requires tension. Muscles strengthen under resistance, not ease. Character forms under challenge, not indulgence. Every hour surrendered to unnecessary comfort is an hour withdrawn from construction. 10 years may pass in moderate effort, cushioned by excessive ease. 20 in cautious living disguised as prudence. 30 in never fully testing one's capacity. Fear of criticism binds ambition even more tightly. Many men shrink not because they lack talent, but because they dread opinion. They measure their actions by anticipated applause. They dilute boldness to avoid disapproval. Fear of criticism is one of the chief causes of failure. It persuades a man to remain small. It convinces him that safety lies in conformity. It disguises timidity as humility. Consider innovators who endured ridicule before recognition. The Wright brothers were doubted. Henry Ford was criticized. Thomas Edison was dismissed repeatedly. Had they shaped their conduct according to popular opinion, progress would have halted. Approval-seeking divides purpose. When you act to satisfy others rather than your definite aim, your signal weakens. You become reactive instead of directive. Others sense the difference. The man who stands firm despite criticism commands respect, even from those who disagree. The man who adjusts constantly to please others loses authority. Courage compounds. Each time you act boldly despite fear, confidence strengthens. Each time you retreat to avoid criticism, doubt grows. Ask yourself honestly, where have I chosen comfort over growth? Where have I silenced ambition to avoid judgment? Each such instance marks lost momentum. 10 years may be reclaimed by refusing to postpone necessary action. 20 by ignoring gossip. 30 by living according to purpose rather than popularity. The disciplined individual distinguishes between useful counsel and empty criticism. He listens for improvement, yet refuses to surrender conviction to ridicule. When you release the need for approval, you gain freedom. Freedom strengthens transmission. It clarifies reception. It sharpens identity. Imagine the authority you would project if fear of criticism held no power over you. Your speech would grow direct, your decisions swift, your conduct aligned fully with purpose. Affirm daily. I release unnecessary comfort. I fear no criticism. My courage strengthens my purpose. Repeat this until it becomes natural. The subconscious mind must be trained to associate criticism with opportunity for growth rather than danger. The world rarely applauds boldness at first. It often resists it. Yet history consistently rewards those who persist beyond ridicule. Winning demands sacrifice. You must sacrifice comfort that weakens you. You must sacrifice the approval of those who prefer you small. In cutting these final obstacles, you remove the last excuses. What remains is concentrated ambition supported by courage. This is how you save 10 years of delay. This is how you reclaim 20 years of caution. This is how you avoid surrendering 30 years to mediocrity disguised as safety. Success is not built solely by what you add. It is built decisively by what you eliminate. Cut distraction. Cut indecision. Cut weakening association. Cut limiting speech. Cut indulgent comfort and fear of criticism. What remains after elimination is strength. Strength sustained becomes power. Power directed becomes achievement. And achievement born of disciplined subtraction is the reward reserved for the man who has the courage to remove what weakens him and stand firmly in what remains. You now understand that victory is not constructed solely through accumulation. It is forged through elimination. Yet knowledge of what to remove is not the same as removal itself. Many will agree with these principles, nod in approval, and then return to habits unchanged. The world does not require your discipline. It will continue offering distraction, hesitation, weak association, careless speech, indulgent comfort, and endless criticism. It profits from your divided loyalty. It does not insist that you eliminate anything. That responsibility rests entirely with you. Elimination is uncomfortable because it exposes truth. When you cut distraction, you confront how much time was wasted. When you cut indecision, you confront how often fear disguised itself as caution. When you cut weak association, you confront misplaced loyalty. When you cut self-sabotaging speech, you confront your own limiting declarations. When you cut comfort and fear of criticism, you confront your desire for approval. Few men welcome such confrontation. That is why few rise beyond the ordinary. Yet once subtraction begins, transformation follows quietly. The mind grows clearer, energy increases, time expands. You discover hours once hidden beneath triviality. You feel lighter, not because work diminished, but because unnecessary weight has been removed. The compound effect of elimination is extraordinary. One distraction removed today yields a clearer hour tomorrow. One decisive act today builds confidence for the next. One courageous refusal to indulge comfort strengthens discipline for the following week. Multiply this over 10 years. Multiply it over 20. Multiply it over 30. The difference between the man who eliminates and the man who tolerates becomes dramatic. Others will notice. They may not know what changed, but they will feel it. They will see steadiness in your gaze. They will hear certainty in your voice. They will observe that you no longer chase trivial approval. They will sense direction. Respect grows around those who demonstrate clarity. Opportunity gravitates toward those who demonstrate discipline. Confidence inspires trust. Internally, something even greater occurs. Conflict diminishes. When distraction is removed, focus remains. When indecision is cut, resolve strengthens. When fear of criticism is discarded, authenticity emerges. You no longer negotiate with your own weakness. You no longer argue with your own ambition. You act. The greatest tragedy is not failure. It is wasted potential. It is years surrendered to habits that should have been cut long ago. It is ambition diluted by comfort. You have the opportunity to end that tragedy. Imagine standing 10 years from today knowing you removed the obstacles immediately instead of tolerating them. Imagine 20 years from now, free from regret that you lingered in hesitation. Imagine 30 years from now, grateful that you chose courage over approval. The future will arrive regardless. The question is whether it will find you burdened or sharpened. Say to yourself now, I release what weakens me. I refuse divided loyalty. I eliminate without apology. Repeat this daily. Make elimination habitual. What you remove determines what remains. What remains determines your strength. Strength sustained becomes influence. Influence directed becomes achievement. Achievement repeated becomes legacy. This is how you save 10 years. This is how you reclaim 20. This is how you avoid losing 30. Not through sudden fortune, not through mysterious advantage, but through disciplined subtraction practiced relentlessly. Look honestly at your life. What still requires cutting? What have you tolerated out of familiarity? What weight continues to slow your climb? The courage to eliminate is the courage to win. When you finish cutting what weakens you, what remains is clarity, resolve, and power. With these, you are equipped for victory. Let your final affirmation be simple and unwavering. I remove what weakens me. I keep what strengthens me. My life reflects disciplined choice. In that discipline lies freedom. In that freedom lies momentum. And in that momentum lies the triumph reserved for the man who had the courage to cut.